President Trump says only a few points of disagreement remain on a possible deal to end the war between Russia and Ukraine, with a U.S. official telling CBS News yesterday that Ukraine's government had agreed to a peace proposal in principle. Mr. Trump discussed the negotiations last night on Air Force One.
We're having some talks with Russia. Ukraine is doing well. I think they're pretty happy about it. They'd like to see it end. And we won't know for a little while, but we're making progress.
Meanwhile, the president is sending U.S. Army Secretary Dan Driscoll to meet with Ukrainian officials, while Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is expected to hold talks with Russian officials in Moscow next week. But Witkoff is now facing new questions after Bloomberg obtained what it said was an audio recording of the president's special envoy coaching a top Putin aide on how to win over Mr. Trump. Nancy Cordes asked the president about this report on Air Force One.
I haven't heard it, but I heard it was standard negotiation.
So you're not worried that he's too pro-Russian?
No, I think, look, this war could go on for years, and Russia's got a lot more people, got a lot more soldiers, you know. So I think if Ukraine can make a deal, it's a good thing. I think it's great for both.
We have just the person to discuss this with us now. Halyna Yanchenko is a Ukrainian Parliament member joining us from Berlin. Halyna, good morning to you and welcome. We're hearing there optimism from President Trump himself over the state of these peace talks, but I'm curious if you share that optimism and if it's shared by other members of Ukraine's parliament.
Well, as far as it will not be a Russian plan, that might be something to discuss with. As of the moment, I believe there are already enough of the evidence that so-called 28 points plan were drafted in Russia, in Russian language, then translated in English and basically communicated to Ukraine and Ukrainians through US. This is absolutely not acceptable. There is one thing that you should keep in mind about Ukraine. Ukraine is democratic country. So you can't force politicians to sign any document if it is not accepted by Ukrainian society. Otherwise, there will be revolutions. Otherwise, there will be a huge, actually, consequences for all negotiators who are taking place. This is my first point. Second point, it is absolutely not acceptable to include any topics or any discussions about trading land. First of all, because we are not talking about, empty places or abandoned land, we are talking about cities and villages where Ukrainians live. And we've already seen after Bucha what Russian occupants are doing to Ukrainians after occupation. They torture people, they murder Ukrainians, they kidnap Ukrainian children from their parents and send them out of Russia. Is this something that we want to see the next few weeks, months, or years? Is it something that US wants to foster? I hope no.
And
also,
can I ask, because the White House wants to bring the Ukrainian president to the US for talks, they are pushing both sides to come to an agreement. So do you trust Steve Witkoff, especially with reports that he was helping to coach a top Russian official? And if not, what do you want to see happen next?
I believe that US can invite more people to be in the negotiation team. Witkoff has proved to be quite pro-Russian. Witkoff has proved to consult with Russians all the time, and it looks like he's trying to push Russian interest through White House. In my opinion, this is not acceptable, not only for Ukraine, but also for US. For us, the peace deal or any kind of negotiation are important in terms of actually fair and lasting peace. We've already seen some attempts to do negotiations between Russia and Ukraine previously, like Minsk agreement or like Normandy format. But actually, Russia has broken all those previous negotiations, because the previous negotiations were totally pro-Russian. The conditions were pro-Russian, and thus they only encouraged Russia to invest more money in defense and come back to Ukraine with more tanks, more Russian soldiers, and more atrocities against Ukrainian civil society.
Yes.
Just civilians. Therefore, it's very important that these negotiations are not pro-Russians. Conditions are not pro-Russians. Otherwise, it will be just another fault, not negotiations and not a peace deal.
Halyna Yanchenko, a member of Ukraine's parliament, I appreciate you sharing that perspective with us. We know attacks have continued in your country and will continue to report on every aspect of this effort. Thanks for your time.